Coming up, election eve, 7 hours away from the polls opening here in Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. In the final hours before the polls open on Election Day, the presidential candidates are making their final arguments to voters in battleground states. The races in those 7 states are still too close to call. CBS's Christian Benavidez begins our campaign coverage.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hit the same 2 Pennsylvania cities Monday night in a final push to get their supporters to the polls.
Tomorrow is Election Day, and the momentum is on our side.
If we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole ball of wax. It's over.
Of the 7 battleground states, the Keystone State is the biggest prize with 19 electoral votes.
We need everyone in Pennsylvania to vote because you are going to make the difference in this election.
Harris barnstormed in Pennsylvania all day, pushing a message of unity and never mentioning Trump by name. In the city of Reading, she visited a Puerto Rican restaurant and even knocked on doors, telling a surprised family she was there to earn their votes. She's outperforming Trump by 13 points when it comes to women, many of whom have been motivated by the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
I don't even sleep, you know.
Trump hit 3 states Monday, including North Carolina, a state he won twice and can't afford to lose. He kept up his personal attacks and unveiled a new proposed tariff against Mexico.
If they don't stop this onslaught of criminals and drugs coming into our country, I'm going to immediately impose a 25% tariff on everything they send in to the United States of America.
Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, stopped here in Atlanta Monday. CBS News Battleground Tracker shows a narrow lead for the Trump campaign in Georgia, and the state could play an outsized role in the election once again. Late Monday, Georgia's Supreme Court ruled 3,000 voters in Cobb County who didn't get their absentee ballots on time will not get extra days to cast a ballot. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, Atlanta.
Officials in just about every state have been working to ensure that this year's election is the most secure ever and voters are safe at the polls. Nevada has put its National Guard on standby, and in several other states, including Arizona and North Carolina, they have activated Guard troops. Tomorrow night, we will be keeping a very close eye on the historic 29th District State Senate race. Following the unexpected death of Senator Johnny Turner, 11 candidates filed as write-in candidates. The district includes Bell, Floyd, Harlan, Knott, and Letcher counties. Each ballot will need to be hand-counted due to the write-in element. Officials with the Kentucky Secretary of State's office say they anticipate the votes will be counted on election night. You can learn more about the candidates on our website. Some Kentucky voters will also vote on medical cannabis, alcohol sales, and various other local races. There are also potential changes to the state's constitution. If approved, Amendment 2 would give state lawmakers the power to use tax money on education options that are not public schools. Supporters say it could expand access to other education options like private school. Critics say that money generated from taxes should be used to improve just public schools. Amendment 1 is also on the Kentucky ballot. It would add one line to the constitutional provision for voting rights explicitly stating that, quote, no person who is not a citizen of the United States shall be allowed to vote in this state. Supporters say it eliminates any gray area on who is or is not allowed to vote in Kentucky. Lawmakers who oppose the amendment say it's not needed because the state does not have an issue with non-citizens voting. Early voting went very smoothly in Kentucky, and it should result in fewer long lines on Election Day. That's according to Kentucky Secretary of State. Michael Adams says early voting continues to be a big success in the state. As WYMT's Phil Pendleton explains, Adams believes another record turnout could be reached after tomorrow.
Tuesday is the traditional election day, but many have already served their civic duty.
Well, I'm very grateful to Kentuckians for taking my advice and voting early in big numbers and helping us reduce the lines that we'll see tomorrow.
Michael Adams says almost 800,000 Kentuckians have already voted either through absentee or during the Thursday to Saturday no excuse early voting.
I think we're going to have about another 1.5 million vote tomorrow. I think we're going to be at roughly 5% absentee, 30% early voting, and 65% election day. It might be a little bit more heavy toward early voting by the time we see the final numbers.
And Adams says that their office received no complaints of voting irregularities, equipment problems, anything that would have caused anyone to not be able to vote for the candidate that they wanted to. There were some reports to that effect on social media.
No, in Laurel County, we had one voter who had trouble following instructions and correctly operating a ballot marking device. She confirmed that she was able to vote for the candidate of her choice, and her vote was counted. She didn't put that in her TikTok video, unfortunately.
Adams says Kentucky is proving to show the voting process here is working in a year that could break turnout records.
People want to be heard. They have strong views for and or against candidates, and even if their state isn't a swing state like most are not, people still want to vote.
In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Adams says if you are voting for a write-in candidate, as many will be here in eastern Kentucky, it is very important to fill in the bubble indicating that you are voting write-in, then proceed to write in the name of the candidate. And more reminders, polls open at 6 a.m. and close by 6 p.m. tomorrow in Kentucky. Voters will need to bring a valid ID to the polls. If you are in line to vote by 6 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. You can report any election law violations to the voter fraud hotline at 800-328-VOTE. WYMT election coverage begins with Mountain News this morning when the polls open. Then join us tomorrow evening at 5:30, 6, 7, and 11 for coverage throughout the region. We'll also have local updates throughout the night during CBS News coverage, which will run until at least 2 a.m. You can also find results as we get them on WYMT.com and the WYMT News app.
Well, as advertised, we had unseasonably warm temperatures across eastern Kentucky. Highs were in the 70s, even low 80s. We made it to 80 in Jackson, otherwise 79 in Moorhead, 78 in Ashland. We made it to 77 in Hazard, 76 in Manchester, as well as London. Williamsburg made it to 75. Then you go over towards Clintwood and Wise, stayed in the mid 60s. All is quiet right now on live pinpoint Doppler radar, and this is going to get, for the most part, a break as we go throughout the day on Tuesday. It's when we go into the overnight hours into Wednesday morning that rain chances will slowly start to creep up in the forecast. But when you wake up in the morning, we'll see that wind staying out of the south and southwest. What that means for us, we'll see overnight lows in the 50s and 60s. These overnight lows in some places is where we should be on the high end, not the low end at all. Look at Hazard, 60, 62 in Jackson, 53 in Manchester, the double nickels, 55 in Clintwood, as well as Grundy. I'll have your complete election day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. Forest fires continue to pop up as our warm, dry stretch of weather continues into Election Day. At least one county, Johnson, is now under a total burn ban. For everyone, burning is not allowed statewide between 6 at night and 6 in the morning through mid-December. In Johnson County, a body was found inside a hotel room. This happened on Saturday around 11:30 a.m. when Johnson County 911 received a call from Days Inn. The cleaning crew had gone into a room and discovered it had caught fire and there was a body laying in the floor. The fire had burned out by the time they got to the room. The body has been identified as 66-year-old Barry Gordon Stambaugh of Pikeville. Autopsy reports show Stambaugh died of smoke inhalation and third-degree burns. A Floyd County man is facing charges after police say he was found with a host of drugs in his vehicle. The incident happened last week in the Allen area of Floyd County. Christopher Saylor reportedly almost hit a bus that triggered police to pull him over. When Saylor was told to get out of the vehicle, police found suspected marijuana as well as suspected fentanyl, cocaine, and mushrooms. Saylor was taken to the Floyd County Jail. The Floyd County Fiscal Court is working to expand economic development using 2 grants and 2 vacant properties. The county will soon develop a site on US 23 to bring businesses to the area using a $500,000 AMLR grant to support the project. At the same time, the county is trying to purchase the former Thunder Ridge property using a total of $5 million in grants recently announced by Governor Andy Beshear to bring a new industry to the mountains.
All roads come into Prestonsburg. I mean, US 23, Mountain Parkway is going to be completed soon, and Route 80. I mean, we've got good roads right there, and you know, we have to get these sites, because when businesses, whenever they make the decision that they want to relocate, they're not going to wait.
Judge Executive Robbie Williams says the plan is to do the groundwork to make the sites build ready so it's prepared when the businesses come. The University of Virginia's College at Wise received more than $15 million in donations, marking its largest gift in school history. The donations come after administrators announced they had a 23% enrollment increase this school year. UVA Wise Chancellor Donna Henry says recruiting efforts have started coming together.
But it really is some of the marketing that we're doing, so I think some of the new degree programs, but we're really working just to make sure that students know who UVA Wise is and what good support we have.
The donations received will create several scholarship funds for students and a scholars program. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, a new way to get concessions the next time you visit Rupp Arena.
And much needed rain chances are in the forecast. I'll have the first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes.